Time for number 91 in my Best Picture Marathon. Best Picture Marathon theme song. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Bobby Farrelly and his brother Peter Farrelly were known for making really raunchy comedies. Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, There's Something About Mary, etc. But in 2018, Universal Pictures released a film by Peter Farrelly without his brother that wasn't a really raunchy comedy. Green Book is a buddy dramedy about an Italian-American bouncer in New York named Frank Vallelonga, aka Tony Lip, played in the film by Viggo Mortensen, who's hired as a chauffeur for the highly respected black pianist Don Shirley as Shirley's about to go on tour through the Deep South in 1962. The two men start off a bit antagonistic, but throughout the course of the film they develop respect for each other and ultimately friendship. The screenplay was written by Peter Farrelly along with Brian Hayes Curie and Nick Vallelonga, the real-life son of Tony Lip Vallelonga. The story was based on old interviews with Tony Lip and Don Shirley, as well as letters that Tony Lip had written back to his wife, who's played by Linda Cardellini in the movie. Green Book was very successful at the box office and went on to win 3 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali, who plays Don Shirley. And while the movie generally received praise from critics and audiences, it was not without its criticism. Many people suggested it was an overly simplistic depiction of racial tensions in the American South during the 1960s. Don Shirley's real-life family members were very critical of the way he was depicted in the movie, suggesting that he never saw Tony Lip as a friend, just as an employee. And even though the filmmakers acknowledged that they took liberties with the material for the sake of entertainment, apparently there are old recordings of interviews where Shirley does acknowledge that he and Lip were friends. Not uncommonly, there were a lot of interesting films to pick from for Best Picture that year. One of the most notable films up for Best Picture that year was BlacKkKlansman, written and directed by Spike Lee. Spike Lee was famously outspoken when Green Book won Best Picture, comparing it to several decades earlier when another movie about a chauffeur, Driving Miss Daisy, won Best Picture, which many regarded as a very safe choice for Best Picture over something more challenging and audacious like Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, which wasn't even nominated. This time, Spike Lee's movie BlacKkKlansman was nominated for Best Picture and won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay, but the Academy still went with the safer choice. And while I think The Green Book is a decent, well-crafted movie with really good performances, it's a movie whose racial politics would have felt much more groundbreaking and impactful in a movie if it was made in the 1970s or 80s. Nevertheless, Farrelly insists that at its heart, the movie is a buddy film, and I think when you look at it in that context rather than as a movie about the complexities of racial tension, it works just fine. It certainly was not my pick for Best Picture that year. I was rooting for something like BlacKkKlansman or The Favorite, but Green Book is a very pleasant movie about a difficult time in American history. Best Picture, no, but it's fine. Okay, next up, Parasite. See you then.